I think everyone knows away games in Kenya, when you have to go outside, are always challenging. You know, it's a long sort of 8 hours on the bus to get from here to Kisumu. That has an impact, you know, swollen legs, you know, a bit stiff, but we'll be traveling sort of early tomorrow morning, looking to get there and sort of loosen up. The hotel has a pool that we can use, and we'll get out onto the field for maybe a light session, just really to, again, refresh the legs. We did most of what we needed to do today, and so yeah, now it's just all about making sure that we can sort of counter the negative impact such a long bus journey has. But we have to do it. There's not much other option, so we go with it. And yeah, we prepare for the game, and we're certain the boys will be ready for what we know will be a very difficult game. You know, Vihiga have had a tough start to the season, but equally, you know, there's nothing more dangerous than a wounded animal. You know this, that they're always ready to strike, and for them, they'll know that if they can even get a point off us in the game, that it'll be a big result for them. So we expect them to fight like hungry animals, and we know we've got to quell that, and we've got to make our quality count.
So, like you said, you are having a day earlier preparation than it was last weekend, so you expect your players, your team to be in a better shape than they were last weekend?
Well, not necessarily, because you got to remember we played midweek this time round, and so when you only have 2 or 3 days to turn the game around, it's a challenge. So you know, coming off the game in midweek against Sofapaka, a very tough game. You know, 90 minutes where we had to work extremely hard, and you know, it's really these days, when you've only got 2 or 3 days between games, it's about putting the team back together again and making sure our energy levels, our freshness is as high as possible. So, yeah, I think I would say we're in a very similar position to when we went up to Kakamega, although we've played 2 more games in the space of 5 or 6 days. So, in essence, the petrol tank is a little bit less full than it was going into the Kakamega game.
Yeah, you're lamenting about the time that is there for preparations and the plays. Isn't this fixture so congested and disturbing you as managers to even manage teams? What do you think would be done better? Because playing 2 games in 1 week sometimes is bringing in knocks, you get injuries. As managers really have to work overdrive to bring back the team. What's your take about this? What should be done by FKF?
Well, look, I think the FKF schedule that they put together was reasonable. I can see they in essence have decided to have a larger number of games in the middle of the season, so that at the end of the season, when people are pushing for CAF places, when they're fighting relegation, in the last 2 months of the season, I think if you look, there are no midweek games. So I can understand the logic of it, but there's no doubt that playing 2 games a week, week after week. And it's complicated further by, obviously, we had teams, you know, like Vihiga, like Wazito, like Matare, who started late. You know, they started late, so they've got games to make up. So maybe sometimes when the FKF had planned for there to be no midweek game, because of those make-up games, those catch-up games, there has to be those games. And so it's tough, and naturally we feel it more than most other teams because we've only got 18 outfield players. You know, so we don't have that. Some other squads have 25 outfield players. We only have 18. So we've got to manage the system. We don't have the ability to rotate the squad as our rivals do. But we're managing. We don't have any injuries. So we're doing our best.
Coach, you are enjoying a good run in your defense. Actually, you have the meanest defenses right now in the Premier League. What's the secret about this?
Well, I think it's interesting. I think if you looked at the Gore team this season, the Gore team last season, we're very different in our approach. Last season, the last 2 years actually, Kogalo were much more a low block team. They sat in defensively and tried to play on the counter-attack, a little bit more like we saw Sofapaka do against us a few days ago. Whereas this season, anyone who's come to watch us sees that we look to go up and get in teams' faces, we look to be a bit more aggressive, we look to counter-press. And sometimes when you do that, if you don't get it right, you can concede goals if you don't get your pressing correct. But the guys have really taken to the idea in pre-season. They're fit, which helps them. And yeah, so we go out and look to defend. It's not just about the goalkeeper and the defenders. It's about even the front line, Benson Omala, you know, Lloyd Kavuchi, Boniface, George, whoever it happens to be. They're also part of the defensive unit because they go and they press and they win the ball high. So, you know, we're very pleased. 3 goals conceded in 8 games is a great record. And long may it continue, because if you're not conceding goals you're not losing games, and you're always in a position to win the game. And so the long may it continue.
Yeah, it's said outside here that Gor Mahia now plays one of the beautiful footballs people would want to watch every now and then. People only worried that now the areas that perhaps you think you should be working on to even make it better, because right now guys are appreciating the fact that the team is playing so well, the game is enticing, people are feeling it should be watched again and again and again. But now as a coach, perhaps there are gaps you see. What do you think we should do?
Yeah, I think ultimately we have to be honest with ourselves, and we are with the players as well, is that we're creating a lot of chances. There's no doubt about that. We go into games and every week we can clip together, 7, 8, 9, 10 good quality chances. And so for us, it's just about making sure we convert those chances, because we come away from games and you think, oh, we could have maybe scored 3 or 4 goals today, and we've maybe only scored 1. Or it's ended up a 0-0 draw like it did against Sofapaka. So we know that we have to be a little bit more just aggressive, a little bit more incisive in front of goal. But again, this is a team. Last season, I think we scored 37 goals in 34 games. So last season, Gor were one of the lowest scorers in the league. We have started solving some of those problems. You look at the likes of Benson Omala. Last season scored 6 or 7 goals in the entire season. Already he's at 6 goals after 8 games. Now the key is we've got to get other guys to chip in as well. Lloyd Kavuchi got an important goal up in Kakamega, and we need to start chipping in other areas. But look, it's not uncommon when you see a team where a striker is in rich form. Sometimes when he doesn't score, you even look at Manchester City in the last few weeks. When Haaland has not scored, Man City have struggled because the other guys maybe have started to rely on Haaland. And maybe that's a little bit. Benson's had a great start to the season, and so other people rely on him a bit. But look, we've got quality in the attack. The important thing is we're creating the chances. It would be a big, big concern if we were not creating chances. But we're creating them, and so now it's just about, that little bit of a magic touch to make sure we put them in the back of the net on a regular basis.
Nzoia is a team you beat in the first game of the league, and right now they are sitting 5 points adrift, Gor Mahia, albeit with the 2 games in hand. What do you think about this?
It's 4 points, but yeah. So look, we knew. I think if you remember back, a lot of people, when we beat Nzoia 1-0 at the start of the season, I think a lot of people looked at how Nzoia played last season or the year before and said, oh, how are you only winning this game 1-0? Gor should be beating Nzoia 3 goals or 4 goals, is what a lot of people said after that game. We knew how tough that game was. We knew how tough it was going to be. And now you see they're one of the toughest teams in the league. They're one of the strongest teams in the league. And I think we're the only team to have beaten them. And so this shows that the league is tough. And look, we're in a good position. We're 4 points off first place with 2 games in hand. So that tells you that if you go out and you do what you need to do in those games, you're going to be up in the conversation in the top places. Okay? We're early in the season. We've got a long way to go. But we're comfortable with how we're doing. If we keep up the form that we're in at the moment, I think we're around 2.2 points a game. If we keep that up at the end of the season, you're going to have around 70 points. And around 70 points is going to be in the conversation for CAF places, for trophies. So we just have to keep doing what we're doing, and we're quite comfortable.
Coach, you're going out to quote-unquote Gor Mahia home ground. You are playing home. You are playing away at home. Let me put it like that. You guys are playing away at home because Nzoia is away. Nzoia is at home and you guys are away, but it's still in Kisumu, which is actually the bedrock support of Gor Mahia. What would you tell fans there in this game?
Well, look, I think obviously Vihiga have decided to move the game to Kisumu, which for us we're very pleased because we don't maybe, especially in the early parts of the season, get too many opportunities to play in Kisumu. But we know it's the sort of, it's the birthplace, it's the home venue of Kogalo. And so for us to go there, we really want to encourage the supporters on that side in Western Kenya and Kisumu to come out in their numbers. Like you've already said in one of your questions, the team is playing some really good football, and so people should come out and see what they make their own opinions of it, see what they think of this team, see if they think it has the potential to go all the way like former Gor teams. And yeah, I think they can have a really good day out. So the supporters play their part, the players feel that passion and energy. So if we can get a lot of the Green Army in the stadium this weekend, then I know the players will be even more energized by that.
Lastly, for the fans now, this is for the fans actually. Should they expect continental football by the end of the season?
For us, we know that's Kogalo's history. We know that's a big part of Kogalo's history. We've got to do everything we can to make sure it's part of our future as well, because it doesn't matter what you did in the past. You know, you look for 20 years in the 70s and 80s, Liverpool were dominant and then they fell away. You look at Manchester United in the 90s and then they fell away. You look at Arsenal, dominant, then they fell away. So we've got to make sure the last couple of years, Kogalo have fallen away, but we've got to do everything we can to make sure that it's only 2 years. That again, this year, we're back, we're competing in the top places, that we can push for continental football. And all our plans, like even now we're making plans for pre-season and what we're going to be doing in pre-season. And we're looking at it in respect of when does the league start, the KPL start, but also when might we have to play a continental fixture. So that's our target, but there's a lot of hard work that has to go in before we reach that target.
Thank you.